We owe it to science to discover what creature did this. The world should know. Science should know.
Hello and welcome to another bad movie review. This time we're looking at Snow Shark, Ancient Snow Beast. This is from 2011, runtime of about 79 minutes, not rated, directed by Sam Qualiana, starring Sam Qualiana, Sherry Lynn Litz, Bob Bozek, CJ Qualiana, Jackey Hall, Katie Murphy, Michael O'Hare, Andrew Elias, and Andy Taylor, among others. Some of these actors are going to be familiar from many B movies or bit parts in other movies. Now, this does technically qualify as a vanity project because it was written, directed, and starring the same person, but we'll get to that in a minute. So we start out in 1999 when a research team is investigating weird animal disappearances after an earthquake, and there's a great line in there, "The world should know, science should know," and I loved that. There are some pretty quotable lines in here. They end up finding a big hole, and they figure that the earthquake opened up some kind of chasm or cave or whatever that had a prehistoric animal in it, and then it looks like they all die 12 years later, and the creature returns, taking 2 more victims right away. The mayor's morning coffee is disrupted by this news, and he has a world's greatest mayor mug, which appears kind of throughout the movie, and I thought that was funny. The mayor is quite clearly my favorite character in the whole thing. He's played by Bob Bozek, and he just did such a fun job playing the mayor. He's got this cool walking stick he uses, and he looks and acts like a small town mayor, so I thought that really sold the performance. Now, the police are claiming that it's just like a bear or something to try and calm the fears of the townies, but there's a guy named Mike Evans who claims that he killed one of these things about 6 years ago. Now, that's actually a reference to a short film that the director, who also plays Mike, did as a teenager, from what I could tell. That was also called Snow Shark, and that one was obviously thrown together by some kids with no budget, and the character from that short film in 2004 is the character that he's playing now in this film. It was a nice tie-in, so this is technically a sequel. Next, we jump to a hot tub where we get some lovely plot, where some tattooed folk who look like they're in a Swedish metal band, in a good way, are unfortunately attacked, and some of the deaths here are implied, others are explicitly stated, and that's one of my problems with counting the kill count, is that there's about 4 or 5 deaths that we think happened, but we never see the actual kills. The sheriff and his son have an argument before the sheriff's kid goes out to meet his grisly demise. Now, the sheriff is played by CJ Qualiana, who I believe is the director's dad, but the character of the sheriff's son is played by Ben Qualiana, who I think is also one of the kids of CJ. I don't know. Now, some hunters get together and get rowdy drunk before going out to hunt the creature. Meanwhile, the mayor has hired a hunter, a biologist, and a cryptozoologist to find out what's going on with this thing and to solve their problem. Well, things go downhill from there pretty quickly. We get a lot of interpersonal issues between the hunter biologist and the cryptozoologist as everybody starts getting slaughtered around them. The hunters pretty much get wiped out except for Mike, and we learn that somebody from the original investigation 12 years ago is still alive and shows up to try and help. And there's a great scene where they're in a bar, and when you see people coming in and out of the bar, they're trying really hard to hide that this is actually connected to somebody's garage. And they do a pretty good job, except for when Mike and another character exit the bar, and then you can clearly see the garage door. They just needed to move the camera over a little, or green screen that, or even just not actually show them walking through the door and just do it from the side by the bartender. But that's a minor issue. There's a fun drinking montage too before everybody goes out to have the big showdown. They're gonna build a fire to try and draw the creature to them because they think it's drawn by heat, but before that can happen, somebody's hand gets bit off. It's crazy. There's even a hand grenade involved in this. Overall, the body count I reached was 14 and the plot points were 2. The movie isn't too bad. The story story's fun, but it does drag a little bit for about 10 minutes around the 45-minute mark as they're kind of doing character development. It gets a little slow, but overall, it is a pretty fun film. It's a great idea that Hollywood would never ever make, and that's why B movies are so much more fun than Hollywood productions. So you get interesting premise, a sequel setup, a couple of nice plot points, and a pretty high body count. As far as is it worth tracking down, I think so. I have a copy on DVD which has the 2004 short film that they did that inspired this one, and I thought that was pretty funny. They did what they could with what they had, obviously, and this movie is no different. I think this was an Indiegogo, but I'm not positive on that. But still, you can tell it's low budget, but the practical effects that they did with the shark mouth, because there's some camera in the shark mouth scenes, I thought those were really well done and probably could have been used a few more times, because most of the kills are just spatters of blood or people getting dragged off in the snow. And that does work, but other kills are done off camera that could have been done on camera. So I don't really have a problem with the majority of the film. There are a few technical issues though. During 2 scenes, I noticed there's this weird ticking sound, kind of just subtly in there, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I thought there was some kind of issue with my Blu-ray player when I was playing this, but it wasn't that. It was something actually in the film. Also, occasionally dialogue is a little hard to hear because the music is just a little too loud, and it's more accurate when people are whispering, because there are times when people are trying to speak in hushed tones, but the music's just a little too loud. But it doesn't really detract from the film. It's obviously a very low budget movie, but I thought they did a really good job with what they had, using stuff around them and access to various places, especially like the bar. That was really well done overall, except for that one scene where you could see the garage door. And although it's clearly like somebody's personal hangout pad, it's really well done for what they had to work with. So I am going to recommend this. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's not the greatest movie you're ever going to see, but it definitely has a fun cheese factor. And if you want to watch a shark movie, this one is definitely high on my recommend list for good quality cheese. So if you get a chance to check this out, I say go for it. I'd recommend getting the DVD, or if it is on Blu-ray, which I haven't seen, I would recommend that because it does have a couple of short films added on, as well as outtakes and some extras that make it worthwhile. That definitely add to the film. So if you like shark movies, this one is definitely good cheese quality for that and beats out a lot of the others. And it's done on a shoestring budget. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.